Hello, my name's Tylor Coore, and this is the first episode of the By the Way podcast with your two-spirited and biracial host, also known as Strong Standing Bear and in my indigenous name. In this podcast, I aim to add value to the watchers and listeners' lives by extracting value I've picked up in my 31 years. And ideally have guests on whose value I will try to extract in conversations and podcast format. I want to extract the value that guests can offer, and I'll hopefully have dialogue on a wide range of issues. My personal background, I grew up in a suburb in Ontario, Canada, and I grew up in Toronto, Ontario. Well, I live in Toronto, Ontario now. And I'm two-spirited, otherwise known as bisexual, and Indigenous Canadian, actually First Nations Indigenous Canadian, as well as Caribbean descent. And given my background, I also love sports. I love basketball, love a whole bunch of other sports. I love going over topics and reading books on philosophy, psychology, social issues, and thinking about social issues in different concepts. I aim to talk about a whole bunch of different things on a broad spectrum. Given my background, it'll allow me to talk about a lot of things and hopefully have guests on that allow different views. For example, like a masculinity podcast, what it means to be masculine now in today's age, especially with the Me Too controversy that has gone on, shed light on some of the horrible things that happen to people in the entertainment industry and the world in general, things that go on behind closed doors that are unacceptable. But with that being said, how to be masculine, how to approach females if you're a heterosexual male, or how to approach different people and what it means to be masculine and how assertive you need to be, and the role of violence in male culture these days, and having ideally different guests with different ideals of what society would consider a male, myself being two-spirited or bisexual, possibly a queer or gay male, a trans male, a straight male, possibly all debating topics around masculinity and what it means to different people, and having that dialogue and extracting value by hopefully coming to terms or having interesting conversations that hopefully lead people or guide people to being a ideal male or a positive male in society, or make positive changes. Another idea would be having podcasts with just myself explaining, like, for example, an episode on change. I've myself changed a lot recently, and I believe that's one of the values that I can add, is how to make positive changes while at school, and how to compensate for school. Or for some college students, it may be the first time that they're in an independent setting where they need to develop independent skills, or skills that they know they leaned on their parents for, that maybe it'd be another source of where to get it from. These are a few of the concepts. I would like to go over the benefit also that this would have to the college. I believe it'll have benefit to young men, giving them a place to go to look at, for example, possibly episodes on how to approach women per se in a way that is masculine and acceptable in today's day and age, with a lot of the climate nowadays And with COVID, a lot of people don't know how to approach social situations, romantic situations, friendship situations. They don't know how to approach people to build those skills. I think having different guests and doing background research, being able to give knowledge on certain episodes on a one, myself talking directly to the camera like today, or myself talking with a panel or a guest on a range of issues with a set topic for discussion to tackle on a week by week or bi-weekly, however it seems doable, and then also tackling the X's and O's of the podcast, how to run the podcast, editing, sound effects, things of that nature, how to get guests on, approaching guests. These things would infinitely benefit myself as a student, an individual, and I believe it's the value that at my age of 31 that I can add to the lives of students coming in for the first time, possibly not making a lot of the mistakes that I made to lead to me making needing me to make positive changes later in life. Maybe making some of those changes earlier and nipping it in the bud, so to speak, would have done me a lot of good in my life. So hopefully I could add that value to someone and the viewers and listeners, and the overall add value. I also had another name idea called the Coorevalues podcast. This would be a similar name if the sexuality nature of the By the Way podcast was too risque. That Coorevalues, using my last name, Coore, and values, podcast would still allow me to talk to things that are core values to myself and hopefully discuss with other people, guests and such, and go over issues and how-tos. It'd be almost exactly the same as the first idea, except I wouldn't be pigeonholing myself so much so into topics that are of a sexuality background in nature. That's the pilot for my first episode of By the Way, or the Coorevalues podcast. And this is your two-spirited Afro-Indigenous host, Tylor Coore, signing off. Take care.